Greetings everyone, this is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're talking about the week of May 15th, 2023 this time around. So, we've been talking about, we've got a good spring sky here. We've been talking about different aspects of the spring sky, where the planets are, how things are moving, and so we're going to follow that up a little bit here this week. Let's start with the morning of the 15th. So this is the first day of the week that we're talking about, and early in the a.m. So about 4:30 in the morning, if you go outside and you look to the east, this is maybe an hour before sunrise or so, maybe a little bit more than an hour before sunrise. The moon, the waning crescent moon is there, and it'll be about 20% full, beautiful slender crescent moon to see. And it is about 26 degrees, 2 to 3 fist widths at arm's length like that, away from Saturn. So Saturn is a fairly bright dot of light as you move back to the west from the moon that morning. Between them, but above the line that connects them, is Neptune. So Neptune is about 6 degrees, about half a fist width or so from the moon. So you go in the direction of Saturn, but you have to move above that line a little bit. Neptune's going to be too faint for you to see without optical aid. Probably best with a small telescope. But if you know what you're doing and you know the region of the sky a little bit, you can see it certainly with binoculars. It's just going to look like a star, is how it might appear in the binoculars. So it's going to have a, the way you tell a planet, first of all, its color. Its color is going to be a little bit bluer or greener than most stars around. So that's one thing to look for. But the other thing to look for there is it doesn't twinkle like a star. It doesn't look like a point of light like a star. You can tell it has a little bit of extent to it often. And so look for that as well, to look for something that looks more ball-like than the dots of lights of the stars that are around there. So this is the morning of the 15th, early in the morning, just before sunrise, 20% full moon, separating from Saturn, and see if you can use that as a guide to find Neptune. So that's our first observing challenge for the week. By the next day, by the morning of the 16th, the moon will be only about 10% full, and it will have moved on off to the east. Still a pretty good chance. Get out before sunrise. Still a very observable moon at 10% full. Very, very beautiful, slender crescent moon. By the next morning, it'll have dwindled all the way to maybe 5% full, and it becomes a real challenge. If you want to try to dig it out of the glow of the sun, go ahead and try to dig it out of the glow of the sun. I think you're going to need some optical aid for that, a telescope or binoculars to try to pull it out of that glow. The very low contrast, the relatively faint moon against the brightening sky of sunrise. But the beautiful thing about that morning is the moon will have caught Jupiter. So Jupiter's trying to make an appearance in the morning sky. It's pulling away from the sun. It's not quite there yet. It's going to be pretty hard to see. But keep an eye on that region of the sky over the next month, and Jupiter's going to appear there. So that's something to keep watching for as the moon passes through this region. Now, on the evening of the 16th, we talked about this last week. We said, we'll come back to this. All of the planets, we've talked about this many weeks in a row. All of the planets are in prograde motion, right? As we catch up and pass the planets, they sometimes look like they move back the opposite direction, retrograde motion, against the background stars. Retrograde motion would be to the west. Prograde motion, where they spend most of their time moving, is to the east. And all of the stars, the planets are moving east against the background stars. And we talked about this last week. So Castor and Pollux and Gemini right here, you extend those on down, and you got nice bright red orange Mars right there, so you can see Mars. But Venus is down the legs of Gemini over here, and on the evening of the 16th, Venus is tracking this way, Mars is tracking this way. Everybody's moving east right now. Venus is about 3/4 of a degree just after sunset on the 16th. It'll be up for a good hour or two after sunset, so you got plenty of time to get out after sunset and see it. But Venus is going to be very close to Mebsuta, a relatively bright star in Gemini, so that's a nice pairing. Get out, see if you can see that. You should be able to see that without your optical aid. You got your binoculars. It's going to look great, and it gives you a chance to watch that motion. By later in the week, Venus will have cleared on into here pretty well, into the middle of Gemini. So you get a sense of that motion. Hopefully you've been tracking that since last week, but this is this is where we have a very nice pairing happening. Now, back over here to Saturn. We didn't talk about this when we were here earlier, but Saturn's also in prograde motion, moving to the east against the background stars. And it's got a couple of very faint stars there, 58 Sagittarii and Sigma, I think, are the stars in Saturn here. And so Saturn, it's not in Sagittarius. So anyway, Saturn's got a couple of very faint stars next to it here, and it's going to be tracking away from there. Get your binoculars out, enjoy this field of view, look for the two faint stars next to Saturn right here, and look as Saturn pulls away from these two faint stars over the coming days and weeks. This week, it's so close. They're so close right here. You'll be able to see the progress just this week. But if you watch for a few weeks, you'll be able to see Saturn move on out this direction. So this is all good. Watch the planets still in prograde motion, moving to the east against the background stars. One object, if you want to challenge this week, one object to look for is we've got the triangle tail of Leo, sits above Virgo, above the Y shape of Virgo. We talk about that a lot this time of year. Virgo and Leo really, really well placed up all night. You can look at them in the middle of the night. You can look at them just after sunset. You can look at them before sunrise. But what we're going to try to do here, this is the region. So our galaxy is shaped like a fried egg, like this, with the center of the galaxy in the direction of Sagittarius. That's the yolk. The white part of the egg is out here. We're sitting right here. If we look through the thick part of the disk right here, we can't see very far. There's a lot of dust and gas and stuff that blocks our view. But if we look this direction or this direction through the thin part of this disk, we can see out into deep space pretty well. And that's where we're looking right now. And we happen to be looking right at the Virgo cluster of galaxies, so we got a lot to see looking that direction. So there's a lot of fun deep space galaxy stuff to see looking up there. And so we're going to try to find a galaxy here this week. It's hard for us to draw on the board. If you've got a good go-to telescope, it'll go find these objects for you. And you can use finder charts online and whatnot. But for us to try to figure out some way, the old school way, the way I used to do it when I was doing this 30 years ago, is to say, we've got Dana Bola in the tip of the tail here. Oh, it's already written up there. Dana Bola in the tip of the tail there, Shertan and Zosma. And so if we start from the top of the triangle down through Dana Bola and go that same distance down here again, then we have to go just another degree or two, and we come to galaxy M49. So try that. This is the way I would have tried to find this when I was first looking for these objects years ago, is to say, let's sweep down here and see if we can just move on another degree or two and come to galaxy M49. M49 is an elliptical galaxy, and so we have two main types of galaxies. There are irregular galaxies too. So there are three main types of galaxies, although irregular galaxies are far less common than spiral galaxies like we've drawn here. So you look at a spiral galaxy from the top, tip this up and look at it from the top, and you see spiral arms. It might be a barred spiral, but you see some sort of structure like that, flattened disk. But elliptical galaxies are not flattened. They're sort of oblong shaped like this, cigar-shaped and uniform bright light across there. And so they're very different structure-wise. The disks of spiral galaxies have a lot of free dust and gas. That's the stuff that we were looking through here and can't see through very well. That's why we have to look this direction. And so that dust and gas makes new stars, and it looks blotted when you look at it on images on the sky. You don't have that free dust and gas much at all in elliptical galaxies, and they look smooth and uniformly bright. And so M49, often we're looking, the galaxies that we've talked about the last few weeks, M65, M66, M51, M101, all of these galaxies that we've looked at around this region of the sky have been spiral galaxies. This is an example of an elliptical galaxy, and worth going to see. It's not the biggest, brightest elliptical galaxy in this region. We only pick it because you can use the tail of Leo as pointer stars to get you in that direction to find this galaxy. And so M49 is a big, nice elliptical galaxy. No free dust and gas, not much in the way of star formation going on in this elliptical galaxy like we would have in the Milky Way or in other spiral galaxies. So let's see if you can find the tail of Leo and use that to find M49 this week. Watch Venus make a nice pairing with Mebsuta and Mars as these things track off to the east. See if you can find Neptune. It's a great week to try to find Neptune with the early in the morning on the 15th with the moon right there, and then watch Saturn separating from the very faint stars that it's next to. And I hope, everyone, you have a great week. I hope there's some clear skies for you. If you need rain, I hope you get rain, but have a little bit of chance of clarity to see some of this stuff. And as always, thanks for watching.